Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanyakaro. Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanyakaro. Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanyakaro. Radha Krishna Padhara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko. 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 Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalago. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalago. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujago Palago. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalago. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalago. Respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are all very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Okay. So, we'll begin with a quick review of what we covered yesterday. We spoke about the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service and the stages where they manifest. We explained there are 3 stages where they manifest. At the stage of sadhana bhakti, then at the stage of Bhava Bhakti, and then at the stage of Prema Bhakti. And there are two characteristics at the stage of sadhana, namely relief from all kinds of distress and the beginning of all auspiciousness. And then there are two further characteristics at the stage of Bhava, where one feels that the happiness of liberation is insignificant, has no meaning to a person. And also, it's rarely achieved. And then at the stage of Prema Bhakti, there were two more characteristics which are, it immediately puts one on the highest transcendental pleasure, and it's the only means to attract Krishna. Okay, so these were the 6 characteristics at different stages. We spoke about Kleshagni and Subhada, meaning the beginning of auspiciousness. Klesha Agni, relief from distress, and Shubha, the beginning of all auspiciousness. So Klesha Agni, we spoke about the cause of distress, the 4 kinds of effects of sin, and how devotional service has the power to nullify all kinds of sinful reaction. So 4 kinds of effects of sin are there in the form of parabdha karma, karma which is manifest, which we see manifest in the body, our karma. And then there's also aparabdha karma, which is not manifest, which is lying as seeds. But in the future, it will grow and will manifest. And there was also 2 more stages. One was kuta, which was the disposition or an inclination towards sinful activities. And then there was bija, where one has actually the seed of desire for sinful activities. So these were the 4 different stages, 4 different kinds of effect of sin. And we explained that devotional service can overcome all of these 4 different effects of sin. Only devotional service has the power to remove the material desire for sinful activities. If we just simply perform pious activities or ritualistic activities or do some charity and so on, that's pious activity. It's good, but it's not going to take away the desire for sin. And we gave the example that somebody may steal and he may go to jail. So after he's been punished in the jail, it does not mean that he will stop stealing. He may continue to steal. And again he may go to jail. And again he may steal and go to jail and come out, and again he may be arrested and again put in prison. So the desire for sinful activity is still there. But if they take up devotional service, then it can uproot the desire for sinful activity. So this is an important point to establish the superiority of devotional service. So we only spoke about 2 characteristics yesterday. We spoke about Klesh Agni, and a little bit about auspiciousness, Subhada. Now we're going to speak about the other characteristics. Right? Here you can see all the characteristics in the Sanskrit terms. Klesh Agni, Subhada, Moksha Lagutakrit, Shadurlabha, Sandrananda Vishesh Atma, and Sri Krishna Karshini. Sri Krishna Karshini, meaning the only means to attract Krishna. And Sandrananda Vishesh Atma puts one in the highest transcendental pleasure. So Durlabha, rarely achieved, difficult to achieve. Moksha Lagutakrit, it derides even the concept of liberation. And Shubhada, auspiciousness, and Klesh Agni, relief from distress. Pure devotional service is all auspicious. Looking at this word, Shubhada. What does it mean to be if something is auspicious? What does it mean? Of course, we generally like to do things, we put some Chinese characters meaning good luck or something. People like to have water flowing, means money will come, right? They think this is something auspicious, and some things are inauspicious. If the bucket is empty, this is considered not auspicious. So, some different situations. If a cow is there feeding the calf, it's considered very auspicious. Okay, so here they're explaining what this auspiciousness means. It means genuine compassion for everyone. Generally, we think we do something auspicious which is for our own benefit. But something which is actually auspicious is performed for the benefit of everyone. And then anurakta, that it attracts everyone. So particularly in our Krishna consciousness movement, chanting the holy names is a very auspicious activity. It shows compassion for everyone, and the holy name is attractive to everyone. It bestows good qualities and bestows superior happiness. So these different characteristics are all mentioned one after another in relation to auspiciousness. If something is actually auspicious, then it should be made up of these different elements. Bestows good qualities. Srila Prabhupada gives an example. He said, just like a Krishna-conscious devotee, he said, he may not be very well educated. He may not have had a higher education in the university. But because they're engaged in devotional service, they naturally cultivate good qualities. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example. He said, just like a devotee, he does not eat meat, fish, and eggs. He does not gamble. He does not take intoxication or have illicit connection with the opposite sex. So these are good qualities. Someone may be very well educated, but we know generally people don't follow these principles. Just like in universities, people have good education, but universities tend to be places of sinful activities. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada described universities as being like a slaughterhouse, that people lose their good qualities when they go for education. But when they come to the Krishna consciousness movement, then they cultivate the good qualities. And so this is the sign that somebody is actually serious in Krishna consciousness, that they're very careful to follow the regulative principles. And because they're avoiding sinful activity, they're also experiencing superior happiness. They're not engaging in any sinful activity. So there's no distress coming on them. Rather, they will feel joyful, they will feel happy. Just like when we go out chanting, when we have kirtan, devotees feel very joyful, very happy. There was a program in America at the center in Boston. So in Srila Prabhupada's time, the center in Boston was the base of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and there was a good number of devotees staying there. And the center was just on the side of a place called the Common. Common means common lands, like a park. And the devotees would regularly go onto the Common, and they would chant Hare Krishna. And their Sankirtan, So there was a very nice picture taken of all the devotees doing Sankirtan on the Boston Coast. And they showed the picture. The picture actually was published on the cover of the Back to Godhead magazine. And they showed the picture to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he said, this is Kirtan. He said, with Kirtan, everyone gets the mercy. When we do japa, when we're doing our chanting, you know, that's for our own benefit. But when we have Kirtan, the loud chanting of the holy name is beneficial for all living entities. So Prabhupada said, this Kirtan, he said, this is like the machine gun. He said, when you have a pistol, you can shoot one and shoot another. But when you have a machine gun, right? And then you can shoot everyone. So he said, Kirtan is where everyone gets the mercy. So bestows this superior happiness. There are different levels of happiness. We get happiness from sense gratification. People enjoy the senses, and there's some happiness there. But we know that happiness is limited and temporary. And then there's another happiness which you get from becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. Identifying with the impersonal Brahman also gives some happiness. But that happiness does not compare to the happiness which we get from devotional service. The happiness of devotional service is far, far greater than any kind of happiness which you can get from sense gratification or from the impersonal Brahman. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example. He says, just like impersonalist sannyasis or Mayavadi sannyasis, they're practicing the yoga system and they're trying to achieve liberation. For the impersonalists, their goal is liberation, moksha, right? They want to get liberation from the material world. And they think if they can achieve that liberation, then that is a great success for them. That is a great cause of great happiness. But Srila Prabhupada points out that there are many big sannyasis who were very learned in their philosophy, in the Mayavadi philosophy. They studied scriptures and they had a lot of impersonal knowledge. But he said they often give up their impersonal teachings to come back to take up some welfare activities or some philanthropic activities. In other words, they're supposed to be engaged in spiritual activities, but because they're not experiencing any real pleasure, therefore they take up these welfare activities. In other words, they may open a school, they may open a hospital, or they may build a library, to do something like these kind of welfare activities. And there are many institutions like that. Their founders are big Mayavadi sannyasis, but they don't know how to engage themselves fully in spiritual activities. Therefore, they come back and take up some welfare activity. It's not the highest platform. There's some pleasure there, some satisfaction that they're doing something for the society, they're helping people. But it's not spiritual. You simply build a school or a hospital or so on, feed the poor. This is material. This is not spiritual activities. And so Srila Prabhupada was very concerned that we should not deviate from the principles of Krishna consciousness. Now Prabhupada did allow building a school. For example, in Vrindavan, we have the Bhaktivedanta Gurukula. And in Mayapur also, there's a Gurukula. In Dallas also, Gurukula. So Prabhupada understood we need schools for educating our children. But the center of the education should be Krishna conscious. And similarly, now in Mumbai, we have also a hospital. The devotees from Chowpatty have built a hospital there. And so they have a number of doctors who are able to perform service there. They're able to do very nice service, attending to the sick, and at the same time giving them Krishna consciousness. Just like I've heard at the hospital in Bombay that they have very Krishna conscious atmosphere. People are every day they're constantly hearing the holy name, and they're given Krishna prasadam. So in this way, these welfare activities can be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. But the priority should be devotion to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said the best way to use our wealth is to build a nice temple for the service of the Lord. If somebody has a lot of money, then let them use it to put a nice temple for Krishna. We don't need to build hospitals and schools. We need more temples. Sometimes people say, oh, we already have so many temples. No, we need more temples. We need more, because temple is actually the real hospital. When people come to the temple, then they learn about devotional service. And they're taught how to engage in the service of Krishna. And they can get relief from all kinds of material distress. Okay? So, beginning of auspiciousness. Krishna consciousness, the chanting of Hare Krishna and the distribution of Krishna consciousness creates the most auspicious atmosphere in the world. Compassion for everyone and attracts everyone. Srila Rupa Goswami has given a definition of auspiciousness. He says that actual auspiciousness means welfare activities for all the people of the world. The Krishna consciousness movement is so nice that it can render the highest benefit to the entire human race. Everyone can be attracted by this movement, and everyone can feel the result. So, Srila Prabhupada explains how Lord Chaitanya was going through the forest of Jharkhanda, and not only was he giving Krishna consciousness to the humans, but even the wild animals were becoming Krishna conscious by the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The wild animals were all chanting and dancing. The ferocious beasts like tigers and lions and so on, they became gentle, and they became loving to each other, embracing each other. And so this was witnessed by Lord Chaitanya's servant when they were traveling through the forest. So this is an example of how Krishna consciousness creates auspiciousness for everyone. We're not interested in just preaching to one section of society, but we want to distribute Krishna consciousness everywhere, to everyone, without any kind of discrimination. Right? Lord Chaitanya said, Prativiti Achiyat Naga Adigram, that the holy name should be spread to every town and village. Everyone should have the opportunity for hearing the holy name. And of course, we are seeing how many people are becoming Krishna conscious. When we go to Mayapur, it's always surprising to see so many people from South America and Africa and China and Russia. How is it they have all come to Krishna consciousness? Simply because Krishna is in everyone's heart. And because they heard about Krishna, they awakened their Krishna consciousness. So this is how people, of course, when they hear about Krishna, then their lives change. Then they take up the principles, they begin to follow the principles. And their life becomes very different. It's only possible by the association of Krishna and his devotees. Okay? Srila Prabhupada goes on. Therefore, Rupa Goswami and other learned scholars agree that a broad propaganda program for the Krishna consciousness movement of devotional service all over the world is the highest humanitarian welfare activity. Yeah. If we give people Krishna consciousness, then that will change their karma. Any other attempts to change people's karma, to take away their sinful desires or their stock of sins which is there in their heart, can never be successful without Krishna consciousness. There has to be Krishna consciousness. We have to. And what does that mean, Krishna consciousness? It means we're teaching them about Krishna. We teach them to chant the holy name. We teach them how to worship Krishna and to read the books about Krishna. This is actual welfare activities for the benefit of the whole world. So Rupa Goswami is saying there should be a broad propaganda program. And of course this was Srila Prabhupada's idea, that he began the ISKCON society with this mood, that he would arrange for everyone to have the opportunity to take up Krishna consciousness, to go everywhere. Prabhupada wanted this very much. He was constantly sending people to different parts of the world. Go there, do something. Even when there was one devotee, Prabhupada was telling him, go to Russia. And he said, but Prabhupada, it's winter time. If I go to Russia in the winter time, there's no vegetables. I'll have to eat meat. So Srila Prabhupada told him, then eat meat, but go there. This was Srila Prabhupada's mood. He didn't take any excuses for being, for not going forward in distributing Krishna consciousness. He wanted us to go everywhere, give that message to everyone. And we see also here, like here in Singapore, Srila Prabhupada personally was not able to come here to Singapore. Srila Prabhupada was refused entry when he came here. But somehow, because Srila Prabhupada desired, somehow Krishna consciousness is still alive here in Singapore. Sadguna produces good qualities. A Krishna conscious boy, even if he is not very well educated by the university standard, can immediately give up all illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication. Whereas those who are not in Krishna consciousness, although very highly educated, are often drunkards, meat eaters, sex mongers, and gamblers. I remember when I was at university, they had a students' union, where the students could go and have their recreational activities. And there was a bar there. People could go and drink alcohol. So they would have a competition. Who could drink the most alcohol fastest? Then usually the faculty which would win was the medical faculty, the doctor. So, this is something, what goes on in student life. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, slaughterhouses. You don't get good qualities, rather destroys the good qualities. But if they come to Krishna consciousness, then they have a chance, then they have some good training. So we're trying to make this training, this opportunity to be trained in regulated principles and chanting the holy name. We want to give this opportunity everywhere to as many people as possible. These are practical points of how a Krishna conscious person becomes highly developed in good qualities. Whereas a person who is not in Krishna consciousness cannot do so. There's a verse like this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that for one who is Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvair Gunais Tatra Samase Suraha Harava Bhakta Shya Pato Maharkana Manoratena Sati Bhavatopai. The meaning is that for one who is a devotee of the Lord, then all of the good qualities are manifest. Because when one devotes himself to the Lord, then the demigods all bestow their blessings on that person, and they cultivate all the good qualities. But if one is not a devotee, the verse says, even though one may be very expert in maintaining his family members, or he may be very expert in performing the prana yoga, drilling the respiration, doing different types of meditation and austerity, but if he's not a devotee, he cannot have any good qualities. Why? Because he's still under the modes of material nature. It is only by devotional service that we can transcend the modes of nature. When we take to devotional service, then we come to the level of pure goodness. We're able to overcome the modes of passion and ignorance. But without taking up devotional service, then there will be that influence of passion and ignorance, which means from time to time that bad qualities will come. You see, one man was saying to Prabhupada, he said, why I need to be a devotee? He said, I am honest, I never steal from anyone, I never do any harm to anyone. Prabhupada was telling him, no, you have to become a devotee. Without becoming a devotee, you cannot have any good quality. It is a fact that without doing devotional service, we're struggling under the modes of nature. And from time to time, the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance will be manifest. So very important that we want to understand the importance of devotional service. Sukham bestows superior happiness. Lord Chaitanya
once.
Oh? Once revealed himself in this to his confidential devotee, Kulaveka Sridhar, and allowed him any opulence. He liked. But Sridhar informed the Lord that he did not want any material opulence. That is the position of pure devotees. So Kulaveka Sridhar was a very humble soul, and he was very poor. He made his living selling a banana tree. He would purchase one banana tree, and then he would cut it up, and he would sell the different parts of the banana tree. He would sell some of the leaves as plates, and he would sell the flour for vegetables. And different parts of it were all used by him. And this way, somehow, he made a very small income. So Kulaveka Sridhar had the principle that whatever money he earned, he would always spend 50% to worship Mother Ganga. Remember we spoke about Rupa Goswami, how he divided his money when he first retired. Then he gave 50% for the service of the Brahmanas and the Krishna consciousness movement. So Kulaveka Sridhar, he was spending every day 50%, whatever income he had, he would spend it to worship Mother Ganga. And he would worship Mother Ganga in the mood of pure devotion. He did not worship Mother Ganga for any kind of material benediction. He simply just wanted love for Krishna. Just like we worship Tulsi Devi. We're worshipping Tulsi to get love for Krishna. So in the same way, Koloveka Sridhar was worshipping Mother Ganga. So on one occasion, Lord Chaitanya was revealing himself. He was revealing his position as the Supreme Lord. And he told all the devotees, there's this one very humble soul. I want you to go and bring him here. I want to give him some benediction. So the devotees managed to find Koloveka Sridhar and they brought him. And then Lord Chaitanya told Koloveka Sridhar that you're very poor, your home is broken down, and your cloth is very old and has holes in it. You don't have any wealth at all, hardly. Let me give you some benediction. Let me bless you with opulence, take away your poverty. But Koloveka Sridhar said, no, I'm all right. I don't have any difficulty. If you want to give me a benediction, then just bless me that I can continue to go on as I am doing. That every day, whatever income I get, I spend half of it to worship Mother Ganga. So bless me that I can continue in this way. He didn't desire anything material. Why? Because he was so satisfied with devotional service. So it's the nature of devotional service that one feels so much pleasure, so much happiness. We don't want anything else. We're very happy chanting Hare Krishna, reading Prabhupada's books. We don't want anything else. We don't need, we don't need any kind of opulence, except whatever comes by the grace of the Lord. So I said, this is the position of pure devotees. No material desires. Right? Prahlad Maharaj also prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev, please bless me that in my heart there will be no desire for sense gratification. Lord Chaitanya also says, na danam, na janam, na sundari, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhaktir ahivaki. I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy any kinds of opulence or the opposite sex. I simply want your devotional service, birth after birth. So this is the position of devotional service, that is so satisfying that you don't want anything else. You have everything. We have everything. We're satisfied. Krishna Prasada. You know, somebody may come and they have this big cake with cream, and we know it's all made with eggs. But to a devotee, you know, we don't need it. We're fine. We have Krishna Prasada. We don't need to sit and watch Bollywood movies all night. We don't need any of these things of the mundane world. We're happy just to have service to Krishna. Because it's a higher taste. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also speaks about the higher taste. Vishaya vinivartante niraharashadehina rasopyasya param drisvarnavartate. That the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, but the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such pleasure by experiencing a higher taste, then he is fixed in consciousness. So we want that param drispar, that higher taste. When we have that higher taste, then we're actually fixed, and nothing can deviate us, because we're so satisfied. Just like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj in the beginning had some material desire. But after the Lord appeared to him, then he said, Swamin Kritardosmi Varam Nayachi. He said, now I don't want anything. Now I am fully satisfied. So this is devotee, pure devotee, fully satisfied, because we have the Lord. We have this service. So Prabhupada has written, happiness derived from pure devotional service is the highest because it is eternal. We said the other happiness of the mind and senses is temporary and limited, and even the happiness from the impersonal Brahman is not eternal. That people go to the Brahman, but they can't stay there, they come back. But devotional service is so powerful that we never give it up. Mayavadi sannyasis descend to the material platform again. And no difference between mystic perfection and materialistic perfection. So mystic perfection, there are different kinds of siddhis. Asta siddhis, there are 8 different kinds of perfection. In yoga, people acquire mystic powers, becoming lighter than the lightest, or becoming heavier than the heaviest, or they could acquire something from another place, or they could put their hand out and touch the moon. They could do many wonderful things which go against the laws of nature. So these are yoga siddhis. But these yoga siddhis are also temporary. Just like we give the example, somebody may, with great difficulty, they learn to walk on water. So we may go and watch this man walking across the water, and we think, oh, very great, he can walk across the water. But for some few cents, we can take the boat across the water. So what is the value of that kind of mystic perfection? It's very limited. Temporary. Prabhupada also tells how he met one man, and the man told him, he said, what kind of fruit do you like? And Prabhupada said, oh, I like pomegranate. So the man said, oh, pomegranate. He said, the best pomegranates grow in Kabul. So the man sat in meditation, and immediately in his hand manifested a pomegranate, which had come from Kabul. So they had this kind of powers, people have this kind of powers, people can go through water, they can take bath in the Ganga and come up at different places hundreds of miles away. They can do these kind of things. But we point out all of these different yoga perfections, practically all of them, have been achieved by modern science. Just like becoming light. Okay, we can fly. So many people are flying. Everybody's flying these days, right? You can go to the airport, fly. You don't have to spend a lot of time getting mystic powers to fly. And you want to go through the air, you want to go through the ground, but we see also that they're constructing so many underground tunnels and bypasses. Even they go under the water. They have between England and France, they have the underwater tunnel. Takes you under the channel between England and France. So you can go in the train like that, under the water. And similarly in Hong Kong, you go from Kowloon to Hong Kong Island. They have an underground tunnel which goes under the water. So this is material perfection. And it's not very different from the mystic perfection. What people do with their mystic powers is similar to the material powers. So we don't want to be infatuated, we don't want to become enamored or bewildered by all of these things. Prabhupada talks about how big cities, they have so many bright lights, and we may be fascinated by all the lights and so on, but why? It's all just a temporary manifestation, material nature. It's not really important. So we have to be very careful not to be bewildered. Don't allow our mind to be out of control. We have to understand that this so-called happiness which people experience from material life is very small, temporary, not very great. But there's a much, much superior happiness in Krishna consciousness. And we have to endeavor for that. We want to focus on that, to get the highest happiness. So going ahead to another characteristic, moksha lagutta krit. Those in pure devotional service derive even the conception of liberation. So people are anxious to get liberation. They often talk about it. I want liberation. I want to get out of the material world. But devotional service gives something much higher than liberation. We said, you may get liberated, and often the Mayavadis, their liberation is to the impersonal Brahman. They're liberated into the light, the impersonal effulgence. And there are no activities there. And so they stay there for some time, but again they become restless because there's no activity. And the nature of our soul is to have relationships and to have activities. And if we're denied these activities and these relationships, then we come back to the material world and we look for some other kind of relation. We try to find more. We want to cultivate the material relationship. We cannot simply stop all activities. We cannot simply deny ourselves all relationships. It's the nature of the soul to have relationship and to have activities. But impersonalism denies this opportunity. And so devotional service is much higher than this kind of liberation. Derives the concept of liberation. It is stated in the Narada Pancharatra that the personal attendants and maidservants of a queen follow the queen with all respect and obeisances. Similarly, the joys of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation follow the devotional service of the Lord. So one may be worried that, well, if I take up devotional service, maybe I will be denied these things. I won't have any economic development. I won't have sense gratification. I won't get liberation. But this verse is there to encourage us that if you take up devotional service, all of these things automatically follow for one who is a devotee. One who is a devotee gets all of these things anyway. And the example is given. Just like a queen is followed with all of her servants, personal attendants. So in the same way, economic development, sense gratification, religiousness, and liberation, all of these things automatically follow for a devotee. One who is a devotee will have all of these things. And we see generally devotees do very well, simply surrendering to Krishna. Sudurlabha, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. This is to warn us that it's not so easy to get pure devotional service. Remember, this comes on the level of Bhava Bhakti. On the level of Bhava Bhakti, it's rarely achieved. To come to that level, it takes great effort, great time. And we can't do it by our own efforts. It's not by our own efforts that we can get this. But we need the blessings, we need the mercy of other pure devotees. We need to have the association of advanced souls to get bhakti. If we want that higher bhakti, we have to associate with great devotees. We cannot achieve it by one's own efforts. It's not just by our own efforts. We need to have the blessing. We may do great efforts. We're doing penance and austerities and sacrifices, so many things. But we will not get pure devotion. But if we have the mercy of a devotee, then we can get it. That's the point. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, There are different kinds of austerity, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of worlds. So this is a statement given to us to warn us. Why is devotional service so rarely achieved? The reason should be understood. First of all, Lord Krishna does not want to give himself to everyone. If it could be easily achieved, then everyone will take advantage of Lord Krishna. We know at the Battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna was obliged to become the chariot driver of Arjuna. And even before the Battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna was obliged to become a messenger for Maharaj Yudhisthira. So Lord Krishna gives himself to his devotees. So Lord Krishna does not want to give himself to all the devotees. He gives himself to the very pure devotees, those who have really sold themselves completely to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna will give himself to those devotees, not to everyone. He doesn't want to become a servant of everyone. Right? So he has his particular conditions. So this mood, Bhava Bhakti, we say, Sudurlabha, rarely achieved. Not easy to come to that level. But if we get the mercy of devotees, by the association of pure devotees, then we can come to that level. Krishna rarely awards it. Krishna rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee. Krishna becomes controlled by his devotee. This is a problem. So Krishna does not give himself to everyone. Sandrananda Vishesha. Pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. This is, now we're talking about the characteristics at the level of prima bhakti, on the highest level of love of God. So on that level, we experience the highest happiness, transcendental pleasure. There's different kinds of pleasure. Incalculable condensed bliss. Incalculable condensed bliss. This is the position at prima bhakti. We cannot begin even to understand the kind of happiness which one will experience on that level of transcendental bliss. We can read about it. For example, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we read about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his ecstasies while he was living in Jagannath Puri, his great ecstasy. And also even before he went to Jagannath Puri, after his initiation, when he came back to Navadvip, then he was in great ecstasy, he was full of love of God, full of Krishna prema. So incalculable, condensed bliss. This is the highest happiness. Oh, here's a verse from the Brahma Bhakti Rasamrita. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied by 1 trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. So the happiness from becoming one with the Supreme is described in relation to the happiness of Krishna Prem. And it said, does not compare to 1 trillion fold. Though there's a million, there's a billion, there's a trillion. So even 1 trillion times the happiness of impersonal liberation cannot equal the happiness, cannot begin to equal the happiness of devotional service on the level of Krishna Prem. So we want to understand how elevated, how high this level is. To come to this level of love of God is a very, very advanced stage, very difficult, very rare that people can come to that stage. But we have to go through the different stages, right? The process of devotional service is scientific, systematic, begins with Shraddha, faith. Ajo Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha. With faith, then we have association. And then, with association, then Bhajana Kriya. We take up the activities of devotional service. And that may include also being initiated. And then we begin the process of Anartha Nivritti, removing the dirty things from the heart. When we remove the dirty things from the heart, then we come to the stage of Nishta, where we're very fixed and very steady in our activities of Krishna consciousness. And then Nishta goes on to Ruchi. Ruchi, where we have taste, we're actually experiencing great taste, we're relishing the activities of devotional service. And then Asakti, meaning attachment to Krishna, full attachment to Krishna and detachment from all the material. And then come to Bhava and then Prema. So Prema is at the end, it's at the top of the ladder. Bhava and Prema are very exalted levels. Most of us, we're trying to do Anartha Nivritti. We want to remove the dirty things, the material desires from the heart. Right? We have to work hard. But once we get through, once we begin to get rid of some of these anarthas, then when we come to Nishta and Ruchi, then quickly, the progress is much more rapid. So like that, there's different stages of devotion. I want you all to understand. 2 levels of happiness. Levels of happiness. First of all, Shubhada, meaning beginning of auspiciousness. It's superior to happiness of sense gratification or liberation. So this Subhada, this is on the stage of sadhana bhakti. So there's some happiness from sense gratification, and there's also some happiness from liberation, but it's not equal to the happiness which comes from even sadhana bhakti. Even devotional service at the level of sadhana bhakti helps us to experience higher happiness. And then moksha laghutakrit, meaning it minimizes the value of sense gratification or liberation, because we've come now to the level of bhava. Number 3, we're on the level of bhava bhakti, so there's much greater happiness. That happiness from liberation or sense gratification becomes very insignificant, practically nothing. And then finally, Sandrananda Visheshatma, the only means to attract Krishna. One cannot even perceive of sense gratification or liberation. It's incalculable. One cannot even perceive of the happiness of sense gratification or liberation. So, like this, we're comparing, we're showing different comparison between the different levels of happiness. Everyone wants to be happy, we're looking for happiness. So, you get the highest happiness in Krishna consciousness. By practicing bhakti yoga, we can come to the highest level. Sri Krishna Kashini, pure devotional service, is the only means to attract Krishna. Krishna is all attractive, but Krishna also becomes attractive by pure devotion. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani and devotees in Vrindavan, put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. Being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. So, as you said, Krishna means all attractive, but he's attracted by pure devotion. It is said Krishna is Madan Mohan. He's attractive of Cupids. But Srimati Radharani is Madan Mohan Mohini. That she attracts even Krishna. That Radharani is the manifestation, the personification of pure devotional service. She is the Ladini Shakti of the Lord. So Srimati Radharani is worshipped by all the devotees, just like people in Vrindavan. They're very much attached to Srimati Radharani. And they always like to chant the names of Radharani. Radhastami is a very big festival there in Vrindavan. So, when Srila Prabhupada was a child, his father used to ask all the guests who would come to his home, that please bless my son, that he will be a good devotee of Radharani. And so, we see how Srila Prabhupada got that blessing. He was able to cultivate his devotion and to distribute Krishna consciousness everywhere. So Srimati Radharani is the personification of devotional service. We want to also serve Srimati Radharani. We cannot become Radharani, but we can become a servant of the servant of Radharani. Many kinds of servant. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this to all the devotees. That just to be a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis of Braja. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Vidas. Usually before we offer arti, it's customary to recite prayers to purify our consciousness. And the prayer which we were meant to recite, one of the prayers which we were meant to recite, is this verse which was spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I am not a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Sudra, and I am not a Brahmachari or a Grihastha or a Vanaprastha or a Sannyas, but I am simply the servant of the servant of the servant of that one Supreme Lord who satisfies the desires of the damsels of Braja. So we pray to Lord Krishna like that He is the darling of the gopis of Braja. Particularly, He is the darling of Srimati Radharani. Radharani shows us the mode of selfless service to Krishna. We see how Krishna calls the gopis into the forest of Vrindavan in the middle of the night. The gopis are young girls and they have their families. Some of them are married, they have families. Some of them are at home with their parents. They're not supposed to come out. Young girls are not supposed to go to the forest in the night. But the gopis were attracted by the sound of Krishna's flute. So being attracted by the sound of Krishna's flute, the gopis went there. And of course, then Krishna would play some trick with the gopis and say, well, why are you coming here? What are you doing here in the middle of the night? You're young girls, you shouldn't come here. Krishna would tease them. And then Lord Krishna tells the gopis that Naparaiha, that you have to be satisfied with your own activities. Lord Krishna says to the gopis that there's no way I can repay you for what you're doing for me. Your love for me is beyond repayment. I cannot give you anything to make up or to repay you for what you're doing for me. You have to be satisfied yourself with this service. So in the same way, we should apply this in our own devotional service. We may wonder, what am I going to get if I do service for Krishna? What will he give me? Is he going to give me wealth? Is he going to give me fame? Is he going to give me all mystic perfections or liberation? But a devotee doesn't want anything. We simply want more service, more love for Krishna, more devotion. So service to Krishna is so satisfying that the devotee doesn't want anything else. So this is the perfectional stage, of course. To come to that level, very high, very exalted stage, we have to come gradually through the process. So these different characteristics are mentioned again. In the beginning, we should all be experiencing relief from distress and the beginning of auspiciousness. Certainly we should all be coming to the level of sadhana bhakti. So we're feeling, the stress is not really there anymore for a devotee. Because the devotee is so busy in the service of Krishna that he's not worried, he's not troubled by material anxiety. He simply wants to be fully engaged in Krishna's service. And Shubhada, auspicious. The activities of the devotee are very auspicious. Chanting the holy name, offering prasadam. We purify the contaminated places. Because of the presence of devotees in Singapore, Singapore has become a holy place. Right? Because of the activities of the devotees, because of their chanting, and their Rath Yatra, book distribution, and so many things. So it's made this place auspicious. Moksha laguta krit. We're not interested in liberation. Not important for a devotee. So durlabha, rarely achieved. No. Therefore, we have to get the mercy of devotees. The devotees are more merciful than Krishna. Krishna rarely gives pure devotion, but the devotees are more merciful than Krishna. They know the purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they will give devotion to Krishna. So, very important to get the mercy of devotees. And then Sandrananda Visheshatma, that inconceivable, incalculable, condensed happiness, and Sri Krishna Karshini, the only means to attract Krishna. Okay? We're not going to be able to do that. Okay, so what did we speak about here? Understanding. We examined the 6 characteristics and at what stage they manifest. Right? We spoke about that at the beginning of the class. And then mood and mission. Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. We want to understand how Krishna consciousness movement is performing the highest welfare activity. People often do not understand how important the activities of the devotee are. The devotees chanting the holy name, doing Sankirtan, and distributing prasadam and literature. This is Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. He wanted to see Krishna consciousness distributed everywhere, to everyone. We have a duty to help Srila Prabhupada. We make our own life auspicious by doing that. Okay, some final quotes here by Srila Prabhupada. He remained with those royal brothers, being attracted by their devotion. He, meaning Lord Krishna, remained with those royal brothers, the Pandavas, being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship, and by their love. That is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God because it attracts Him. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is in rendering service to the Lord. You know, we may feel very exasperated trying to make people understand the importance of Krishna consciousness. Very difficult. So, sometimes we don't waste your time. If people don't appreciate Krishna consciousness, then find some other people who do. There's always more people. There's always other people who will appreciate Krishna consciousness. We can't expect everyone to appreciate Krishna consciousness. Many people are very materially attached, and they don't like to accept that Lord Krishna and His service is the highest happiness. We have to be convinced ourselves. Okay, we will ask any questions. Yes, Prabhu.
What are the symptoms of one who is performing devotional service in Bhagavad?
Well, you can read that in the chapter 17 of the Nectar of Devotion. I think there's about 9 different characteristics. I have the book here with me. Maybe I'll just read it for you. That's chapter 18. Characteristics of one in ecstatic love. Rupa Goswami next describes the characteristics of a person who has actually developed his ecstatic love for Krishna. The characteristics are as follows. He is always anxious to utilize his time in the service of the Lord. He does not like to be idle. He wants service always, 24 hours a day, without deviation. He is always reserved and persevering, number 2. Number 3, he is always detached from all material attraction. Number 4, he does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. 5, he is always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. 6, he is always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. 7, he is very much attached to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. 8, he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And 9, he is very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed. For example, Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. So these are the 9 characteristics which are there when a person has achieved the level of ecstatic love or bhava. when we've actually come to that level, then these characteristics should be manifest. You can understand it's a very advanced level, very high stage of Krishna consciousness. But it is possible if you follow the process. You go through the stages, faithfully hearing and chanting, and then gradually, we can come to that stage. Yeah? Brahma?
Maharaj, you were talking about Mayavadi sannyasis descend to the material platform again.
Yes?
So I was considering this liberation to impersonal Brahman. The Buddhist or any other religions strive for liberation from this material world, right?
Yes.
So do they have to go into that position and come back again to this material life after liberation?
Yes. Generally, we point out that if you achieve that impersonal liberation, you don't remain there. I explained that on the level of impersonal liberation, there are no activities and there's no relationship. There's simply the oneness of Brahman. You don't have any friendship, you don't have any activities. It becomes very boring. Right? If we put you in a room and nobody's there, nobody talks, just like sometimes people go for retreats at the Buddha's temple. And when you go for the retreat, they will tell you, don't talk to anybody. You're just here to meditate. Just sit and meditate. Right? So, just sit there and meditate. That's impersonal liberation. Stopping all activities, just becoming one with the impersonal energy. So when you come to that level, impersonal Brahman, you won't stay there, you'll come back because you're bored. You want some activity, you want some relationship. I said it's the nature of the soul to have activities, to have relationships. And if we stop all of these things, then it's artificial. We won't be able to maintain that position for very long. And we will come back again to the material world. Yeah?
Yeah, Maharaj, but they say that moksha, becoming one with the Supreme Lord, and then never coming back. I mean, sometimes some people say that, and some religions. So is that liberation again, because they are merging with the Supreme Lord?
Yeah? Well, what are they merging with? They're merging with the light. They're entering into the impersonal effulgence. They're not actually merging with the Lord, but they're merging with the impersonal feature of the Lord, which is simply the effulgence coming from His body. So they enter into that light, and they remain there for some time. No, they may be fortunate, maybe the Sankirtan devotees are coming through the impersonal Brahman and they're doing kirtan and they're chanting the holy name, and that person is in the impersonal effulgence. He may become attracted to the kirtan and he may want to join them. So he may get the mercy of the Buddha. Otherwise, he will come back. We say, actually, that impersonal liberation is not actually liberation, but it's simply theoretical liberation. You remain there for some time and you come back. You cannot stay there.
So, Maharaj, regarding the question I asked earlier, so beyond devotional service, they mostly perform at the prema bhakti level, not at sadhana.
No. Pure devotional service is performed at all three levels. Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. We began the class, we remember the second class, we spoke about pure devotional service. And we explained that pure devotees may be also on the level of Sadhana Bhakti, they may be on the level of Bhava Bhakti, and they may be on the level of Prema Bhakti. There are different levels of pure devotees.
unless one's, like in Bhagavad Gita, there is a, unless one is completely free of all sinful reactions, one cannot perform without me. There's a verse.
Persons who acted piously in previous lives and in this life and are free from the reactions for the past sins, engage themselves in my service with determination. Right? Okay, but that doesn't mean prema bhakti. Prema bhakti is something much, much higher.
So pure devotional service, that doesn't refer to pure devotional service. The criteria for performing pure devotional service.
Well, the verse does. It's describing pure devotional service, but I'm saying pure devotional service can be also sadhana bhakti. It means you're just practicing devotional service according to rules and regulations. Nothing, no other way.
So if the sadhana is, I mean, like we say we all we are on the platform of sadhana, but at the same time, we may have also other shortcomings.
Well, we're mixed devotees. That's mixed devotion. When we still have shortcomings.
So unless one is free of shortcomings, he cannot perform. His service will always be
right. Yeah. Yeah, we gave the definition what you have to do to come to the level of pure devotion. You have to anya vilasita sunyam, jnana karma jana vritam, anukuyena krishna nushilana, bhakti adhutam. Devotional service means to serve Krishna favorably, as Krishna would like to be pleased. And serve Krishna and Krishna's devotees, Krishna's paraphernalia, and engaging in activities which are pleasing to him. And we should also perform this service without material desires.
So while someone may be on the sadhana bhakti platform and still it's not all the shortcomings have not been removed or all the dharmas are still not completely purified of all the dharmas, but there are transient periods what we call ups and downs. So
well,
in this,
we're going to take some time. And you have to practice. Not immediately. It's going to take some time, some practice. You have to do it. You have to do it. It's not just do it one time or 1 month. You have to do it regularly. You have to really put your heart and soul into it. You have to become very attached to it. So sadhana, we speak, and when we go on, we'll read more about sadhana bhakti. There's different levels of sadhana bhakti. There's Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means practicing according to the different rules and regulations. But Raganuga sadhana bhakti is spontaneous devotion. So it's a more advanced stage. Yeah, but we have to be patient, to come to the higher stage. I said there are stages, anarthana vritti, you have to get rid of the dirty things from the heart. Material desires, we have to give them up. We have to chant with full faith, conviction.
You also mentioned that Krishna rarely gives pure devotional service to a living entity. But then if Krishna, we also hear that Krishna is more eager to bring the living entity back to Godhead than the living entity himself.
Okay.
But at the same time, we know today that Krishna rarely gives. He actually does not want to give so easily.
But his devotees give. His devotees are more merciful than him. And his devotees understand the purpose of the Lord. So Krishna likes to give the credit to his devotees. That's another reason why Krishna doesn't like to give everything himself, but he likes to see his devotees get the credit.
So what is the real Krishna's intention? He wants to give or he doesn't want to give?
Yeah, he certainly he wants to bring us all back home, but how does he do it? He's arranging it through his devotees. Right? He wants to bring people back home who are qualified. He doesn't want to take a bunch of people back home who are not going to be happy or who are not going to be steady there. He wants to make sure that the people who go back home are really worthy of that position. Krishna is willing to bring all of us back home, but we have to be qualified. So Krishna wants to make sure we're actually serious, we're actually worthy. Difficult to understand?
I think that's why there is mention of Brahmande Bhumite Puno Bhaskarvan Jit Guru Kripa Philosophy.
Yeah.
It is so difficult, only the rarest of rarest to Krishna grants that opportunity to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we have to get that Bhakti Lata Beach. We're moving, we're going through so many lives, so many universities. But when we're very fortunate, then we get the association of devotee. It gives us that seed of devotion. So when we plant that seed of devotion, then we have to cultivate it properly. We have to pull out all the weeds, all the things which are going to obstruct the growth of the plant have to be removed. With the help of Krishna's devotees, we get that kind of guidance. How to remove all these things. How to cultivate this bhakti lata. So that the creeper will grow and it will produce the fruit. The fruit being love of God. So it takes some time to grow a plant. Just like, you plant a mango, it's going to take some time before the tree grows. And before we get the mangoes. And so in the same way, the bhakti lata is going to take some time. We have to take care of it properly. So the devotees association, the devotees guidance helps us to do all of this. So that we can, one day we can get that fruit. The fruit will manifest on that tree. So the fruit is Krishna free. But even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, there is great pleasure. It was described, there's so much happiness there, even at the level of sadhana bhakti. Much more than one gets from liberation or material pleasure. So don't be worried. Just keep chanting. Gradually, you come to the goal. Krishna is not going to cheat you. He wants to give you Krishna prema. He wants to give you the highest thing. That's how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as a devotee to distribute Krishna prema. He didn't come as Krishna. When he came as Krishna, he didn't distribute prema. He told people you have to surrender. But then he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he was distributing Krishna prema. By the mercy of the spiritual master, we get the mercy of Krishna. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, very difficult to get the mercy of Krishna. So the same thing is there, Guru Vastika. We're singing every day. So we have to think, we have to understand how to get that mercy. Any other question? Hare Krishna. Nectar of devotion tea. Srila tea.
This one is Bhakti Vinod.